themselves. Okay, so our CleverTouch displays are measured along the diagonal of the screen. They come in 65, 75, and 86-inch sizes, okay? We have two speakers that are built in. They're located at the bottom panel of the screen. We also have two magnets for our stylus pens that we receive with our interactive displays. Along the bottom right side of the screen, we have a few inputs. Some of these inputs are our USB inputs, our Type-C, for example. And then on the back right side of the display, we can find some inputs like our Type-C, HDMI, VGA, depending on the screen model, and etc. Okay, so that's our different features that we have in there. Now we're able to share our laptop to the screen with a wire. So what I mean by that is you're able to connect your laptop or the computer to the screen with, for example, a HDMI cable and share it up to the display, okay? Now HDMI will only give us audio and visual. So what I mean by that is if we're using the HDMI cable, we're going to receive audio and visual from, for example, my laptop to the screen, but I'm not going to have that two-way touch between the laptop and the screen itself, okay? So to receive that two-way touch when using a HDMI cable, I'm going to need to use this additional cable that's probably already set up for you by an installer at the display. So this cable has a square end that goes into the display, and it also has a USB end that goes into your laptop or your computer, okay? So again, when we're using a HDMI connection, if we type in that, if we plug in that additional cable, what we are going to have is we're going to have that touch between the laptop or the computer and the screen, which means that we can leave our laptop off to the side and use the screen, use the laptop from our CleverTouch screen itself. Now to get into the menu of our different connections, all I'm doing is tapping on the down arrow on the display. It's going to bring up my menu here with a few different connections. As you can see, I have Lux, which is the Android side of the display. So I always try and encourage people to use that Android side as much as possible. So I'm going to show you all the features of the Android side, obviously, throughout this session as well, and show you why it's very useful. You also have some options in here for HDMI options. DP is our display port, and then you have an option for Type-C as well. Now Type-C cable option could be very useful for some of you guys. Type-C will give you audio, visual coming from the laptop to the screen. It will also give you touch in between the screen and the laptop without having to use that additional cable that I showed you previously, and it will also charge your laptop. So if you are going for a wired connection, if you prefer a wired connection, my advice would be to go for a Type-C cable connection. Now we also have an option for wireless screen sharing on our CleverTouch displays as well. So I'm just logging into my Surface Pro here. So you do need to download an app called CleverShare. So if you just want to put that down on your notes, an app called CleverShare, you can download it from your Microsoft Store, or you can look it up on Google and download it from there, okay? Once you have CleverShare downloaded on your laptop, your phone, your computer, and etc., again, it's available on your App Store if you're using an Apple device, for example. It's also available on your Google Play Store if you're using an Android device or a tablet, and etc. So once I have CleverShare downloaded on my laptop, what I want to do is I want to find that code that I have on my CleverTouch for the CleverShare connection. Now in this instance, my code is here at the top. Now depending on your settings of your CleverTouch, the way you can also find it if it's not up at the top is by going into the side arrow, going into your apps, and finding an app called CleverShare. That's going to bring up that window for you with the code, okay? Now, one thing that's very important is that I want to make sure that my laptop is connected to the same Wi-Fi or the same network as the interactive display. So as you can see above the first three digits, it tells me that I'm connected to Avio Wi-Fi. So I want to make sure I'm connected to that same Wi-Fi on my own laptop, which I currently am. Afterwards, I'm going to type in that code into my CleverShare app. Once I have that code typed into the CleverShare app, I get two choices. I get a choice to screen share, which means that I'm sharing my laptop up to the screen. So I'm going to show you that option first. I'm going to tap on Start and Mirror. So as you can see, I'm currently screen sharing my laptop up to the screen. Now I'm nowhere near my laptop and I have that two-way touch. So I'm actually able to navigate around my laptop. For example, open up my Microsoft Edge. Now my internet is not the best in this room, so it is a good bit delayed. But if your internet is stronger in your school and etc., it will be a lot better. And as you can see, that's a website opening up on my laptop. Now along the bottom left side of the display, I get this small arrow, and it gives me an access to a few different features while I'm wirelessly screen sharing. One of the features is this little red shutdown icon. It's going to allow me to stop that wireless screen sharing if I wish to do so. Next to that, I get a window with a small arrow, which is going to minimize my CleverShare screen sharing, and I'm going to place it somewhere around the screen. So this could be useful in an instance where I'm sharing my laptop up to the screen. I want to put it into a smaller window and have my whiteboard open on the screen at the same time. This is where this feature could be useful. If I tap on that down arrow at the bottom left side of that window again, and I tap on that same icon, it's going to full screen my connection again. And then next to that, I also have a little keyboard icon. That's actually going to bring in an on-screen keyboard on my laptop itself. So this could be useful if I, for example, don't want to walk up to my laptop to look different things up on my browser, and I'm able to use that on-screen keyboard to look different things up, for example, on my browser. If I want to look up YouTube, I'm able to do so through that, okay? I can tap on enter and look it up. If I tap on that arrow at the bottom left side again, I also get an option for a little audio icon, which essentially allows me to either mute or unmute the sound coming from the laptop to the screen itself. Now, the useful thing about CleverShare is that we can have up to 9 devices sharing to the screen at the same time. So what I mean by that is you can have your phone, you can have one of your colleagues' laptops on the screen at the same time. For example, 3 or 4 devices shared up to that screen at the same time, and then you can move those screens around as well if you wish to do so. So I'm going to stop that wireless screen share connection. Now, if I go back into my laptop, into my CleverShare app, I also get an option that's called Desktop Sync, okay? Desktop Sync, as you can see, it's asking me if I want to allow my screencasting. It will allow me to cast my screen onto my laptop, okay? Now, where this could be useful is if you have visually impaired students in class and they're unable to see the board properly, they're able to use their laptop to see the board or their tablet to see the board from their own tablet themselves, okay? Another useful kind of another way that you can use it is if you have a disabled student, for example, and they would like to interact with the screen but they're unable to come up to the screen. What you can do is you can get them to connect through CleverShare if they have their own device. Now, once they're connected with that desktop sync option, you're able to click into this 6-digit menu at the top and view the main interface. And then you're able to go into your devices, and as you can see, my Avio.ie Surface is using that desktop sync feature. There's a little finger pointer tool. If I tap on it and if I authorize touch, it will actually allow me to control the display from my own device. So as you can see, I'm nowhere near the display at the moment. I'm currently at my laptop. I can tap on the side arrow, for example, and I can open up my different apps and navigate around the screen from my own laptop that way, okay? So it could be very useful for some of your students possibly when it comes to that. And that's my wireless screen sharing, and that's how CleverShare works on the Clevertouch displays. Now I'm going to take you through some of the other features that we have, like our links whiteboard and some of the settings and etc. that we have on the screen. So if I tap on that side arrow again, at the very top left side, we have an option for no or for whiteboard, okay? Now this should take me to Links whiteboard depending on my settings. If it takes you to a different whiteboard, it's just the settings that you might need to adjust, which I'll take you through in a few minutes or towards the end of the session. If I tap on no, it opens up my Links whiteboard, okay? Now, Links Whiteboard is a very useful tool, and it's an app made by Clevertouch, okay? So you're able to make a free Links Whiteboard account, which will give you access to more kind of features on the Links Whiteboard itself, okay? Now, once you make that free Links Whiteboard account, you'll be able to connect your Google Drive or your OneDrive to your Links Whiteboard account itself. You're also going to be able to download Links Whiteboard on your laptop, your computer, and you're going to be able to create different lessons at home if you wish to do so. Then you can use the same account to share different files. You know, let's say you save a certain presentation for maths November 1st. You can save that onto your either Google Drive or OneDrive or on the Links cloud itself. Now, once you sign into your Links Whiteboard account at the Clevertouch board in class, you're going to be able to see all the same files that you had access to on your computer as well through the Links Whiteboard, okay? So it could be useful for that as it's cross-platform. Now, this is our homepage of our Links Whiteboard. If I tap on the three-line menu at the bottom left side of the screen, if I tap on the options here, I'm able to see different options for the Links Whiteboard. Now in here, I'm actually able to change the language of the Links Whiteboard from English to, for example, Irish and etc. So we can change it to Irish if we're doing an Irish class, Spanish and etc. In here, we can also set up our different fonts that we're able to use when we're writing on the screen with our keyboard, okay? So that's some of our settings that would be relevant to different teachers that might be using it in school. Now, if I tap on new, I'm able to open up a new whiteboard file. Along the bottom left side of the screen, we have 1/1. So that's my different pages of the whiteboard. So I'm on the first page of that one-page file. I'm able to tap on add page option to add multiple pages onto that whiteboard, okay? And then I'm able to navigate around those different pages afterwards. Along the bottom middle of the screen, I have this finger pointer tool. So whenever one of these tools is selected, right, we get a little blue line under that tool. So as you can see, that finger pointer tool is selected, which means that I'm able to select different lines, different writings on the screen and resize them, essentially like my cursor, okay? Next to that, I get access to this little ink pen tool. So it's going to bring up this menu with different types of pens that are preset already on our Clevertouch display, okay? Now we have an access to more pens on our Links whiteboard, so I'm going to show you how to get into that, okay? So we're going to find one of the pens and we're going to tap on them, okay? It's going to bring us into this menu where we can change the pen type, the pen kind of size, the pen color, and etc. As you can see these options along here. And then it's going to give me a little icon for that same pen that I'm currently using. If I tap on that icon, it's going to bring up this menu for what I call my pencil case, okay, where it gives me access to more types of pens. So what I can do is I can pick an ink pen, for example. I can use the horizontal option there with the horizontal lines to resize my ink pen, and I can start annotating on the whiteboard. If I tap on that ink pen again, I can choose the highlighter, then afterwards change the color of it, and I can use the highlighter to highlight different writings on the screen. If I tap on the highlighter again, I'm able to choose a pen like a laser pen, for example, that will disappear after a few seconds on the screen. We also have an access to a fine tip pen, which will be quite similar to our ink pen, to be honest. And then in here, we have some recognition tools that come with Links Pro. I'm just going to show you them, but again, it is an optional feature, okay? So for example, it will recognize the text that we write on the screen, and it will turn it into a different font. It will also recognize the shapes on the screen, and then we have a maths tool that will recognize certain equations on the screen as well. So let's say I do 4 by 58. I use the finger pointer tool to select the answer, and I can use the little image icon to see the answer on the screen. So it could be useful for maths classes, for example. Now I'm going to go back into that menu. We also have an access to a rainbow pen. So a rainbow pen could be very useful for primary schools or special schools. So anytime I lift my finger or my pen off the screen, it will change the color of that pen. Then I also have an animated rainbow, which is constantly going to change the color of that pen. Again, very popular in special schools, for example, to keep it interactive for the students. Then we have a curve tool as well. A curve tool will allow me to draw a line on the screen. Then I can use my finger pointer tool that I have here at the bottom of the screen to select that curve tool. Now there's green circles there, but my line is green, so you're not able to see it. There we go. Now we have green circles. We can take one of the green circles and drag them down to show our students how to make a curve on a certain line. And there's also this option in the middle of our options there that will allow me to add in multiple points onto that curve, so that I'm able to use those points and move them around the screen as well. So could be very useful in class, yeah. Then we have our eraser tool, which is a little rubber there. So we're able to use the rubber to delete anything off the screen if we wish to do so. So that's our different options that we have inside our pencil case, okay? If I go on to my next page, we also have this T letter. The T letter will allow me to type on the screen using my keyboard. So I can tap anywhere I want on the screen. I can bring my keyboard up, and then I can start using my keyboard to annotate on the screen. Afterwards, I'm able to tap on my writing to select it. I'm able to move it around, and I'm able to resize it on the screen as well. Next to the T letter, we have a paintball. A paintball will allow me to access different colors for my backgrounds. I'm able to select a certain color and tap into a certain letter or a line, and it's going to change the color of that letter or a line. So to get back into that menu that I had previously, I'm just going to use this little arrow there. I'm getting back into this menu. Now, once I have that free links account, I will also get access to online media. Okay, so I can tap on the plus icon, and there's an option called media here. Okay, now it will allow me to look up different photos on Google and etc. Pixabay and etc. Unsplash as well, and I'm able to drag and drop those photos into my links whiteboard. Okay, so it stops you from having to open up your browser to look up certain things on the browser for your students, and then go back into your whiteboard or go walk over to your whiteboard. This way you can just do everything in just one app. Okay, so for example, if I want to bring in different photos from Google, I'm able to tap on Google and go into the search bar, and in here I'm able to look up different things. So let's say we're looking at Greek history. So I'm able to find different pictures of Greek history. I'm able to slide down to find which picture suits me the best. After I find a certain picture, I'm able to drag and drop it onto the screen and move it around the screen. Now the good thing to note here is that this is all save search, and all the YouTube videos that we bring in through this are cleansed of ads. Okay, so if I tap on that Google icon again next to my search bar, I'm able to get back into that menu where I have access to my different tools. So for example, we have YouTube. Inside YouTube, we're able to find different videos, and we're able to drag and drop them then afterwards onto our whiteboard and play them with no ads. Okay, so again, could be useful to filter those ads through the links whiteboard itself as well. So that was our media tool that we had when we tapped on that plus icon. Okay, and also bear in mind we're able to use our laser, our highlighter, and etc. to annotate over that picture as well if we wish to do so. Now, using the plus icon, we also have an option that's called content. Inside content, I'm able to look up different backgrounds. I'm able to go into line paper, and I'm able to drag and drop different line paper backgrounds onto the screen. So as you can see, I have this line paper, for example. Now to get back into my option for different backgrounds, I'm able to tap on that backgrounds option at the top, and I'm able to drag and drop that transparent tool into that background as well. I can also drag and drop a background for maths, for example, so we can do maths on the screen and etc. And I can use that transparent tool again to get rid of that background if we wish to do so. Now in here we also get access to some mind maps that we can drag and drop onto the screen and etc. If I go back to home there at the top left side of the screen, okay, we have access to different subjects, and then we have different tools for different subjects. Okay, so for example, if we're doing maths, I'm able to drag and drop a ruler in centimeters in this example onto the screen. I'm able to move that ruler around, and I'm able to resize it, and then I'm able to measure certain lines on the screen. So I can use the blue and the red notch to measure certain lines, and I can use the stamp tool to stamp the length of that line on the screen then afterwards. Okay, if I go back to home here at the top left side of the screen, I can go into geography, and I can drag and drop different pictures from geography, like Earth's core, for example. Again, we can resize it, we can move it around and work on it that way. Okay, so I can use some of my pens, let's say like my highlighter, and we can highlight different paragraphs from that on the screen then afterwards. Okay, I'm just going to go into a next page just to have more space. So if I go back into that plus icon, we just went through some media and some content options. Next to that, we have shapes. So in here, we're able to bring in different shapes onto the screen. So as you can see, I currently selected a circle. Once I have it selected, I'm going to place my pen or my finger on the whiteboard, and I'm going to drag it down depending on the size of the circle that I wish to make on the screen. After that, I can just lift my pen or my finger off the screen. Now, we're also able to split different circles. So I'm just going to do a bigger circle just so you're able to see it better. So we're able to split different circles on the screen as well. Now to do this, we're going to go into our little paint pot option. We're going to go into the crop tool there on the right hand side. And we're going to use the option that says shape split, okay? Once that option is selected, I can place my finger, or again my stylus pen, on that circle, and I can move it around in a circle depending on how many shapes I want to split it into. After I'm happy with the amount of shapes that I want to split it into, I'm going to raise it off the whiteboard, and then I can use my finger pointer tool to select different parts of that shape. I can select a part, I can use the 90-degree angle then afterwards to see the radius, angle, and area of that part of the circle. So very engaging for students if they're coming up to the whiteboard and interacting with it, okay? Now, I'm going to go back into that plus icon that we had in there. Now we have an AI assistant that comes with our Links Pro. So the AI assistant is able to make different lessons for you, depending on the topics and the children's age and etc. Next to that, we have a page link option. That will allow me to link, for example, page 1 to my page 4. So I can easily go from page 4 by tapping on that page link option, then to page 1. I can link different pages in together. I also have a table in here, so I'm able to bring in a 5x5 table, for example, onto the screen. Next to the table, I also have a browse option, and I can tap on browse files. So this will allow me to bring in different files from my Google Drive, my OneDrive, and etc. once it's connected to my Links Whiteboard account. Now I have a guide on our YouTube channel, Avia Presentation Systems, showing you how to connect your Links Whiteboard account to your Google Drive or your OneDrive. So I would advise to check this out after the call. It's about a minute long video after you make that account. I can go into my Google Drive and I can bring in any sort of files into my Links Whiteboard. So in this instance, I'm just going to go with a PDF file. So I can just double tap on a certain PDF file. I can move it around and I can use my gray circles then to resize that file as well. And this might take a few seconds to load up, but once it's loaded up, I have the file there. As you can see, under that PDF file, I have 1/2. So these are the different pages of that PDF file. So I'm able to use the little arrow to cycle through different pages of that file as well. And I'm able to use this ink pen and the highlighter to highlight different parts of that PDF file too, okay? So that's the different features that we have inside the plus icon and inside our browse option, okay? Now, once I'm done using my Links Whiteboard and I want to save it or share it to my students, I have a few different options here. So if I tap on the 3-line menu at the bottom left side of the screen, I have an option that says share and print, okay? So this would be more useful for secondary schools or for teacher meetings, but it is a nice feature to have, okay? I can tap on an option that says share. Now that will put all of my presentations or only custom presentations, if I choose that in those settings, into a QR code, and then my students or my colleagues are able to scan that QR code and save that presentation onto their device. Now that's one way of sharing the presentations out. We can also save that presentation onto the local storage of the display itself, which would be that Android storage, or we can save it onto our cloud drive. To do that, we're going to go for an option that says save as. Now in here, we're going to look for where we want to save that file to. So in this instance, I'm just going to go with my Google Drive. At the bottom left side, I can tap on that empty line to name my presentation. And then next to that, I can choose to save it either as a links file or as a PDF file, okay? If I'm going to go back into that presentation in future, and if I'm going to use it again, I would highly advise to save it as a links file. But if I'm planning to share that presentation out to my students, then I'm going to save it as a PDF file because it'll be easier to share it and it'll be easier for people to open it up then afterwards. Once I'm done with that, I can tap on the pencil icon and hit home afterwards to get out of my whiteboard, okay? So if I tap on that side arrow again, we also have an access to a finder. A finder is access to our local storage of the display or possibly the cloud storage of the display as well. So my storage option will show me different local files that I have saved on my display, Under that, I have a cloud drive option that allows me to tap into my Google Drive because I already connected it previously to the display itself. I can tap on the add option and I can actually add a Google Drive or OneDrive or Dropbox directly to the display itself as well if I wish to do so. That's my files option. Now I highly recommend just connecting your Google Drive or your OneDrive to your Links account itself instead of going for the Finder option. Now under that, we also have an access to a browser, so fairly straightforward. It's like your normal browser on your computer. Now just bear in mind that browser is on safe search as the Links whiteboard is, and no ads are cleared out of YouTube if you're going through the browser, so just keep that in mind. Under that, we have an access to a CleverLive store. Now, some of the newer models of Clevertouch displays will have a Google Play Store, so it just really depends what model of Clevertouch you have. Now, you should either have access to a CleverLive store or to a Google Play Store. If you currently have access to a Clever Store, it means that your display is out of date and you need to update it. So I'm going to show you how to do that towards the end of this session as well. Now, CleverLive Store has an access to over 100 or 200 different apps, different games, and etc. You're able to use the search bar at the top right side of the screen to look up those apps, or you're able to slide down to find those different apps, or you can use a filter there at the top to find different apps depending on different needs, age groups, and etc. Under the CleverLive store, we also have active. So that's your different active apps that you have in the background. Now, on the majority of my displays, I'm also able to split screen. As you can see, there's an option that says split. And I'm able to have two apps open on the screen at the same time if I wish to do so. Under the CleverLive store, we also have active. Oh, sorry, I just went through that. Under the active, we have a lock, so we're able to lock the screen with a password if we wish to do so. Under that, we have apps, so that's our different apps that are currently downloaded on our display. And then under that, we have favorites, so that's our favorite apps that we can add into it if we wish to do so. I'm just going to go into our apps and I'm going to show you some of the settings that you might be able to go through in future. So if I tap on settings here, I'm able to get access to different settings on my display. So I'm currently on the wireless and network settings. So here I can adjust the Wi-Fi, my hotspot and Bluetooth settings if I wish to do so. Under that, I have personal. So in here I can adjust the wallpaper of the display and etc. And here I can also adjust the whiteboard, the default whiteboard of the display. So if you remember at the beginning when I told you that sometimes when I tap into my whiteboard, it will take me to a different whiteboard instead of my Links whiteboard. Here I can change that from Links whiteboard to my legacy whiteboard if I wish to do so. Under personal, I have a user. So in here, I'm able to add in different users onto the screen, again, depending on the model. You might not have access to it as it might be a model made just for one user. Here we have input and output settings. We have different application settings. And then here we have our system settings. Now these are quite important settings, okay? In here we have startup and shutdown settings. It will allow me to add a boot task and add an off task. So what I mean by that is you can get your screen to turn on automatically at 8:45 Monday to Friday and get it to turn off automatically at 3:30 p.m. Monday to Friday as well. So that way you don't have to worry about turning the screen on and off, and you can get it to automatically turn on maybe before you show up to class, okay? So all you have to do is add a boot task and add an off task if you wish to have that option on. If I go back into those system settings, I also have an option there that says system update. So all I need to do is tap and check for updates. It's going to say that my screen is up to date or that it's not up to date. That I get an option to download the update. So then the update will have to download up to 100%. So I would advise doing this in the morning. Once that download is done, you're going to be able to install that update then afterwards, and then the screen will be fully up to date. Now for some older models of the Clevertouch displays, the update settings will be in your about settings, okay? So if you tap on about, there should be an option that says software update or something similar to that, and you can check for any updates in there then afterwards. Now, I also get this pencil icon there on the side. It'll give me an access to a few different features. I have this lock option that's going to lock my screen. Under that, I have an arrow option that's going to allow me to go back out of different pages. Under that, I have a home icon that's going to take me back to the home page of my Clevertouch display. Under that, I have a HDMI icon that's going to bring up my menu from the bottom. And with that menu, I can adjust the brightness and the sound of the display if I wish to do so. Under that, I have a whiteboard icon that's going to take me to the whiteboard of the display. So depending on what my default whiteboard is, as I showed you previously. Under that, I have two windows together that's going to show me the apps that are active in the background. So here I can clear out different apps if I wish to do so. Under that, I have a magnifying glass with a plus sign. It's actually going to allow me to freeze the screen and zoom into different parts of the screen if I wish to do so. Then above that now, the menu changed around a little bit. I have a pencil icon. Again, that's going to freeze my screen and will actually allow me to annotate over that snip of my screen, okay? Now I can use my fist with my finger pointed toward me, sorry, with my thumb pointed towards me to actually delete some of the things from that part of the whiteboard. I'm able to use the brush to get rid of all the annotations on that part of the whiteboard, and then I can use the cloud feature to upload it to my cloud drive once I have it connected to my Clevertouch display, or I can use the QR code to share it out to my students or my colleagues. Above that, I have a snipping tool. It will actually allow me to snip different parts of the screen, and then I'm able to use the insert option to insert that snip into my whiteboard. And then above that, I have a spanner tool that's going to give me an access to a spotlight. So I'm able to move that spotlight around the screen. I'm able to change the clarity of the screen and the size of that spotlight. And I also have a timer and a stopwatch inside that spanner tool as well if I wish to use it. So that's our November webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful.